Hello everyone, I'm Vanessa Rodriguez from Unveiled Wellness, and this is Healthy People, Healthy Planet, a spotlight series where we're showcasing cool people, projects, movements, businesses, and more that are making a positive impact and difference in this world and contributing to the health and sustainability of the planet and all the people that live in it. So today I'm super stoked to have Ariane Resnick. Ariane is a private chef and she's a wellness expert. She's a special diet specialist with celebrity clientele and happily caters to food sensitivities and preferences ranging from raw vegan to paleo. It's her goal to provide food so tasty, her clients don't know what they're actually missing. She's also a survivor of chronic Lyme disease and chemical poisoning, and having recovered from both holistically, she now consults others on wellness and nutrition. Ariane, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So let's start out with talking about special diet chef. What exactly is that? What do you do?
Sure. So I accommodate dietary restrictions. In today's society, food allergies and food preferences are both very normal, and it is somewhat common these days for a chef to accommodate one of them, such as a gluten-free chef or a vegan chef. And often chefs accommodate dietary restrictions based on either what their own restrictions are or what their own food preferences are. So I'm a little standout from the norm because I accommodate any and all restrictions at once. And I do that in a way where people who do not have restrictions are able to eat along with the people who do the same meal without really noticing that the meal has been geared towards those with restrictions.
Yeah. So I think that is insanely awesome, and I wish that you lived here in Chicago to cook for me. But I found out about you through the Well and Good article recently, and it talked about how you got into it through like a healing story of yours. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I grew up in a very, very holistic home where going to the doctor was kind of a last resort. We were the only people I knew of taking probiotics in the 80s, and my mom ran a co-op out of our basement. We did not have commercial food. Yeah. So when I had the illnesses that I went through, the Lyme disease for a couple years, then I was well for about a year, then got assaulted in my home by chemicals by way of a neighbor's stove that ventilated into our apartment for about 6 months. Okay. I had a mindset where I knew that drugs were not going to be the option for me to recover. So for both illnesses, I recovered naturally, and I had cooked before, and once I was well again, and then again, got back into it and just have progressively had more and more of a focus on food for wellness because I have experienced the impact that it has on a person in their recovery.
Right. And I feel like once you go through something like that and you're really deep in it, you have a whole different take on it. Could you talk a little bit about how you used food as medicine and maybe some of the things that you did to help heal yourself?
Sure. There were involved like avocados, which are incredible for brain power and were one of the things that got me out of the cognitive impairment that I suffered from after the chemical poisoning. I was actually diagnosed with Alzheimer's, is how bad my memory was. So that's a very normal food that I just was intrinsically drawn to at the time that worked incredibly well. And then on the less normal side of things, something else that helped a lot and that I regularly recommend to people with Lyme disease is camel milk. Wow. Which is super unusual and not very common, but has made some mainstream news like the LA Times for its ability to cure autism. It is incredibly curing and restorative for the gut. And as we know, that is where your immune system predominantly lives. Right. So I have really run the gamut of the normal to the extreme in terms of foods for wellness. Yeah. And I'm huge on them. It's so hard to go wrong in eating well and eating for recovery, provided that you're eating actual whole foods.
Mm-hmm. So really quick, where can you get camel milk? Because I don't think I've seen one in the store.
The internet.
Okay.
It is, it's if you are in the Middle East, that is what they sell for milk in stores. But in America, it is not something that can be purchased in, I don't think, any store at all. So I got it from the Camel Milk Association, which was camelmilkassociation.org, and it is used by people to heal illnesses. Their clientele are people with autism and diabetes and assorted chronic illnesses, and you buy it by the set of pints, 9 pints, 18 pints, however many you want, and it's shipped to you very, very frozen. So you're able to just thaw 1 pint at a time as you need it.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly therapeutic.
That sounds pretty amazing.
It's very, very good stuff.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about how you started cooking for clients and became a private chef, and how you got on the Well and Good article? I love this journey that you took.
Thank you. I've had such amazing press recently that I am so beyond grateful for. Yesterday, I was mentioned in both InStyle and Star magazines for an app called Notorious that's a lifestyle advice app that I am one of their chef and wellness experts for. So yeah, the Well and Good one was fabulous too. Like I mentioned, my mom ran a co-op out of our basement. We were very holistic. She made everything, absolutely everything from scratch. And she made incredible, wonderful food, which was how I grew up. So when I moved out on my own, I learned how to cook by calling my mother and asking her how to make things. And she would give me instructions over the phone because, thank heavens, I'm older than I look. And this is actually before the internet. I was an adult. And I wanted to cook, and I didn't really have any cookbooks yet. And she would tell me how to make things, and I would get off the phone and I would make them. And I got really into cooking and baking, and before long I was making things that you don't normally at 18 make, like pretzels and croissants, and not specifically healthy things yet. I was just kind of getting my feelers out there and finding all kinds of stuff. And then pretty quickly I started getting into how can I make food that tastes this good without these ingredients, because even though it was long before celiac came about as a household name, I still knew that white flour wasn't the thing. So I got into baking and cooking, and I needed people to give my food to, because I got into it really intensely.
Like, people need to eat this. It's really good.
as a hobby, and I am, one small person. So I ended up with my first restaurant job by having a professor who I was friends with. I took a music appreciation class from him, and he was just an amazing, amazing man, and he turned composers into people. He told real life stories about them, and it was just incredible, and I would write poetry in his class. So I would send him the poetry that I wrote, and we became friends, and I started bringing him baked goods. And I brought him chocolate cake made out of garbanzo beans, which, of course, in the 90s was totally not a thing yet. Now it's black beans. The chickpea chocolate cake never even really made it. But he and his wife ended up opening a bookstore and cafe, and I volunteered to help out where I could, with no idea that I was going to end up the chef de cuisine of the vegetarian cafe, where, completely untrained at age 19, I did buffet lunches for 50 to 100 people a day and catered events for up to 100 people by myself.
Wow.
And it was crazy fun and easy. Like, I just cook. It's not anything that I've ever chosen to do. It's just what I do. And I don't just cook. I create things out of other things that don't seem like they would turn into what the final product ends up being. And it makes people really happy. So I have been in and out of the culinary field for my whole adult life. I spent years modeling. I got a writing degree and spent years writing. I always end up back in a kitchen. So when I recovered this last time from the most recent illness in the beginning of 2013, I finally felt like I had my purpose. I was not just going to go back to the kitchen and cook. I was going to go back to the kitchen and cook with a focus on helping other people be well through food. I think when you find what you're supposed to do, it works. And I spent so long feeling like, why did I spend my 20s modeling? Like, what a waste of time. But now I have opportunities to be on camera, and wow, what great experience. And I spent so long writing, and now I'm doing a cookbook. And wow, how convenient for me that I don't have to pay someone to write it for me. So it all is part of our path and it's all part of our journey. And it's just been the past year that I finally felt like I'm able to say, I got it. This is it. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing the way I'm supposed to be doing it. And I think when you really find your passion and figure out how to make it work in the world, things come together on their own and they come together really well. And I'm just incredibly grateful at the course that things are now taking and have been taking.
Yeah, and it just starts happening really quickly, right? All of a sudden, once you hit that. So it seems like it started maybe with working with Gwyneth Paltrow when you got on the Goop project that they were doing, right?
Yeah, that was definitely the beginning of it. And getting asked to go back and work for them the whole time they were in LA was big for sure. And then spending the summer in the Hamptons with them last year was really big. And I fed so many people that, when suddenly Paul McCartney's wife is saying, I can't believe this pasta salad is gluten-free and vegan. And you're like, wow, yeah, I made that.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was me, guys. That was me.
Okay. So that definitely did a lot. And especially since the summer, it has been really consistent in terms of momentum building. And, I think, one of the least patient people to ever live. So to me, it feels so slow because I'm like, I've been ready for this for years. But in reality, it's all happened very quickly and it is continuing to happen at what anyone else would consider a very good speed. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have this whole wealth of knowledge in different areas from your experiences and from everything that you said, like, the modeling, the creative writing, your illnesses and your recovery. You have this unique package that you can bring to people, and it's such a gift. So I'm really excited for you and what's going to come. I did send you an email regarding something recent that Glenn Beck, I want to talk about this because I think it's hilarious and I love it. It's not hilarious what happened to him, but basically on his show, he said that he's been dealing with health issues for years and that, he's gone to all these different doctors all over the world and nobody knew what was wrong with him. And then finally he found this brain center, I believe in Texas, when they actually told him that it was the food that was poisoning him. What he was eating was making him sick, and probably due to an autoimmune reactivity that he had now to all these foods. So he put a call out for a special chef that could make elimination diet very tasty. And I forwarded that to you because I was like, oh my God, this is your thing. Look how funny. And what did you have to say?
I had to say to Glenn Beck, it is so unfortunate for both of us that your dream chef is a tattooed leftist lesbian.
Yes. I love it.
Because I'm at this point, I'm pretty confident it's hard to make it taste as good as I can when there's hardly anything in it. But way not a match. But the entire affair, it was so brilliant to me that we've hit a point. It's terrible that we've hit a point where people have so many allergies because what we're eating overall is such crap. But it's so wonderful that we've hit the point where you just can't claim it's not happening anymore. When I read articles, BuzzFeed had something recently on the 20 things of your life that change when you have celiac. And, I don't have any food intolerances, but I'm so fascinated by all of them and how to make those people happy without giving them the things they can't have. So I'm always reading about it. And the comment sections of things are some of the most interesting to me because even now with celiac being known as a completely real autoimmune condition, we have genetically modified wheat, we have consumed too much of it. In turn, people's bodies are like, no, stop, we can't do this anymore. It's so obvious and it's so scientific and clear. But you have all these people commenting on these articles being like, this is just a fad. This is just a new hype. Nobody really has a problem with that.
Right.
And so there's so much more awareness that still needs to happen. And even though it's unfortunate for that newsman, thank heavens people like him too, because we're all just people. We've all just got bodies. Thank heavens it's happening to people who are prevalent and who have voices, and they have no choice but to speak about it because it's real and it needs to be mainstream knowledge that what you eat affects your well-being.
Right. And
So,
I feel like it's gonna be there no matter what, and this is gonna start happening over and over again. We're gonna hear it from so many other people, and I'm positive that there are people out there that can hit the mainstream media who are dealing with it and who aren't talking about it. And so I think that what Gwyneth Paltrow did was huge with her book and talking about, elimination diet in her own right, and then Glenn Beck sort of like, on this opposite spectrum talking
yes,
about it.
100%.
Yeah, so really like education and awareness is key. So let's talk about what's coming up for you and maybe new projects or things. What's on the horizon for you, and what do you hope to do in the future?
So, have a lot of wonderful things happening. I am working under the advisement of a pretty major network TV producer, and we kind of together have gotten my cookbook proposal ready. She found a really wonderful literary agent, and I have interest from shockingly enormous publishing houses who contacted me out of the blue saying, we want to publish your book.
Exciting.
So I thought I was all ready to go, but then I found out that my 25-page proposal really needs to be an 80-page proposal. So I'm in a place I didn't plan on right now where I have a whole bunch more work to do to get to that point. But then I will be doing a cookbook, which is really wonderful. I'm finishing up a nutritionist course in the middle of my final project right now so that I have that credibility when my book comes out and people know, yes, I know what I'm talking about. I think it would sound snooty to say I don't think I've learned that much from the nutrition course, but I do feel that I already had a lot of the basics. I just did not know really any of that scientific terminology nearly so well. And I'm really grateful for having done it, because now I take amino acids because it convinced me that since I don't eat meat, I'll probably die without them. So I'm going to be working on a cookbook once I finish working on the proposal. I'm going to have a nutritionist certification. I have TV stuff happening that's really wonderful, and that's pretty much the direction I'm headed in. I'm really excited to have more and more media opportunities. I love cooking, and I love cooking in people's homes, but I even more love the idea that I can help the world understand that you can take just a few simple ingredients and turn them into something incredible that everyone around you can eat.
Yes, and thank you, because I think it is so needed. I haven't found something quite like that for clients. It's really hard for people, especially if their diet is like doing a complete 180 and they don't know where to begin. It's like, what, you're telling me I can't have wheat, gluten, sugar, dairy, and something else I'm sensitive to? Like, what the hell am I supposed to eat? And so
there's nothing left.
There's nothing left. And there's so much left. And there's so much you can do with it. And so I'm really excited about your book. And you need to let us know when that comes out. So you touched a little bit on what you eat. And so I'm just curious, and I'm sure people who are watching are curious. So what's like a typical day meal for you?
So I do intermittent fasting, where I eat between 6 and 8 hours a day, which already sounds really weird to people. Basically, the idea is that when you have more hours a day spent not eating, your body goes into different modes and functions differently than when you are eating for 12 or more hours a day. The main thing that it does that's really beneficial when you eat for less time is it makes your body produce more growth hormone. So through intermittent fasting, I have been able to increase my growth hormone by over 50 points, which is pretty substantial. It was way low from the things that I had gone through, and I got it completely back into the normal range. So I eat during a fairly limited window of time. Every morning in lieu of breakfast, I do a bulletproof morning drink. Bulletproof coffee is a huge thing, and it is like rocket fuel. And I personally do not require that amount of caffeine.
Yeah.
It's fun, and I'll do it once in a while. Like when I'm braiding my hair and I'm like, we're going to go today.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this in 4 hours. But on average, on the daily, I'm not really a caffeine kind of person. So I start my day with a bulletproof morning beverage that is raw cacao powder and an assortment of Chinese tonic herbs done with medium chain triglyceride oil and grass-fed butter. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And that is my breakfast. It's pretty high in fat. Mm-hmm. I eat a very high-fat, low-carb diet. Mm-hmm. I do eat some fruit, but for the most part, I focus on vegetables and fats because I feel better in a ketogenic state, and I love being able to eat as much as I want of what I want and not having to worry about my weight. I'm pretty active in terms of when I work. I'm working, a long day. I'm on my feet. I'm not a sitter at all. I'm definitely a standing and moving around kind of person, but I find exercise somewhat torturous. So to be able to eat the way I want and not have to worry about my weight is a big luxury. And I have found that through having a ketogenic diet, which basically just means you are a fat burning machine instead of a sugar burning machine. Right. So I limit grains and sugars and fruit so that I'm always in fat burning mode. I eat a lot of avocados, as mentioned, always. I generally have my first meal around noon, and I always start my day with almonds, unless I'm in a period of trying to kind of rotate out when I'll have walnuts, or I definitely try to rotate foods fairly regularly because you absorb the most nutrients that way. Your body gets tired of things. But on average, I like to start my day with almonds because they are like raw sprouted ones. They're very healthy, and they're good fat, and they're good energy, and they regulate the ghrelin in your system, which is what makes you feel hungry. So for me, it's always really helpful to know how much of what I'm feeling is hunger from my stomach and how much of it is from my mind. Right. So I like to start with that, and then I do a lot of vegetables, and I'm mostly raw. I tend to eat cooked food for dinner because it is way easier to have a normal dinner experience when there's a stove or an oven involved. I have been fully raw at times, and I loved it, but it's just not viable for life, and you miss out on too many things that do become more healthful or just plain edible when they're cooked. Yeah. So I generally have a cooked dinner that is usually cooked vegetables. I am a strange sort of person who is happy eating a meal full of vegetables, and I don't try to do that to other people when I cook for them. Because I know that I'm weird and alone in that.
Well, I think it's something that you can work up to. And obviously, like, you've done a lot of work. You've had this whole journey where you've gotten to the point where you are, but you still recognize that the people who you serve you cook for aren't there yet. Yeah.
Yes. And I am very respectful of the fact that everyone has different dietary needs, and I am very unpopular for being a vegetarian who cooks meat and who condones other people eating meat. I don't think it's fair or right to say, just because my body doesn't want this, your body shouldn't want it either. I have had a good number of people say, I'd like to try being vegetarian, I'd like to try being vegan, and just not be able to get their body in balance, whether they tried it for a month or sometimes a year. Some people it works for, and it changes their life, and they are plant-based from that point forward, and that's awesome. And other people just have different dietary needs. So I cook meat, and I welcome hitting a point in life where I don't have to do that anymore, but I don't picture myself ever hitting a point where I would tell anyone that it's wrong of them, provided that they're eating meat that is grass-fed and humanely treated, and the animals have lived as happy a life as possible.
Yeah.
It's something that I morally agree with, even though I don't tend to consume it.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of good points there. I just want to underscore the concept of bio-individuality, right? And that
Huge.
Yeah, we're all different biochemically and depending on our situation and our gut integrity and what's going on inside. We have different needs, and honoring that for your body, right? And giving your body what it's asking for, and tapping into that intuition, which I think you do really well and you help your clients do.
Thank you. And it's kind of a weird concept for people when you tell them to listen to their body.
Unfortunately.
But it makes perfect sense when people are like, how do you know to eat that? How do you know to take that? How do you know that works for you? And I'm like, well, I just listen. Mm-hmm. And I've come to terms with the fact that there are an array of ways in which I just sound like a total hippie. That's okay. I'm good with that now.
I know. I have friends that tell me, like, Vanessa, you gotta bring the woo-woo notch down a bit. I'm like, but you know what? There's also science to it as well, and it's just like language, right? But it's the truth, and we see it with the clients who we see.
Exactly.
So there is so much that you have learned and that you're bringing to the table. Can you give us maybe like a nugget of wisdom that maybe you wish you had known prior?
About life in general?
Yeah.
I think the easiest way to move forward successfully and well and healthily is very, very simple, but something that we all really sort of have a difficult time with, whether we acknowledge it or not. And that's the idea that you're enough. We're all enough. Mm-hmm. And at any given moment, whatever you're doing, as long as you're making some minor attempt to live better and to be better towards the planet we're on, you're good. We're good enough. You're doing a great job. We don't tell ourselves that often enough, and we don't tell each other that often enough. Yeah. And we're in this society that is so focused on more. Mm-hmm. And it's never enough. And one plastic surgery leads to another plastic surgery, and one diet plan leads to another diet plan. Mm-hmm. And it's so rare that we just stop and realize we're good.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I learned by not having a choice except to stop in life because I was laid up. And it's such a struggle when you're used to being a very active person to have to take time and be sedentary. And that was one of the main things that I learned was how to be okay when you're not okay. Mm-hmm. How to be well when you're not.
Yeah, that is beautiful advice. And I feel like everybody needs to hear that. No matter where you are in your journey. We know that as a nation, it's getting crazy, right? Just the anxiety and the stress. I mean, there's articles all over. There's just a recent article in The Atlantic about it, about Americans and being stressed. But it's really, really global. And the rates of depression and anxiety. So it's not just about the food. It's also about that emotional and spiritual component that you're touching on, and that you're enough and living the life that you want to live, right?
Very important.
Yeah. And things will start happening for you like they are with you.
Exactly. I like to think that I'm good proof of what I say.
Lead by example. Totally. So really quick, could you give us maybe an idea of a food or a recipe or a snack that some of our audience members can try at home, something that's simple, that's healthful, so that they can see that simple food can be really good?
Sure. One thing that I love, and that everyone I have made it for loves and has been shocked by its lack of ingredients and its simplicity, is cauliflower mashed potatoes. And the potato aspect of that is in quotes because there are no potatoes involved. But basically, you take a head of cauliflower, you cut it into florets of any size as long as they're all approximately the same size, and you steam them until they're soft. Then you put them in a food processor or a blender with a few tablespoons of grass-fed butter. If you don't do butter, you can do coconut oil and olive oil and some nutritional yeast to compensate for that flavor. And you blend it, and you add salt and pepper, and it is like mashed potatoes. Oh. And no one knows that they're not mashed potatoes, and it's cauliflower, which is super good for you, and it's steamed cauliflower at that, which is even better. and you're putting fat with it. And a lot of the nutrients in cauliflower are fat soluble. So when you eat them with fat, you actually absorb more of what's in the vegetable itself.
Yeah. Awesome. I love
So
that.
that's one of my favorites.
So I'm actually going to include that recipe down below. So make sure you guys take a look and try it at home. It's so easy, so simple, and so delicious. Thank you for that recipe. Sure. So we have one more thing that I like to do with our audience, and that's giving them a call to action or something that they can do this week after watching this that might make a small difference or a big difference in their life. So do you have any challenge or call to action for our viewers today?
Sure. Yeah. I sympathize with the fact that it's still freezing in the rest of the world, country at least. I'm actually going to New York to work on Sunday, and oh my God, I can't believe that this is the weather there right now. But in my little LA world of wonderfulness, we have farmers markets year round. And normally I think the rest of the country would be having farmers markets beginning right now, but you're all still freezing, so you probably don't. Yeah. My advice and call to action is once they're back, just go and pick up something different and experiment and play around and turn produce into a new experience. You know, you're bored of tomatoes. We'll go get ones that are like red and green and knobby and crazy looking and heirloom, you know, that have been around for many generations. They taste different. They look different. Yes. When you cut it up and it looks like a sunburst inside or a sunset, like it's incredible. So just get out there and do what you can to connect with your food and with the people who grow your food, because the relationships you can establish with those people are absolute magic. The avocado lady at the Hollywood Farmers Market is like one of my favorite people on this planet. She's my, like, there's a lot of avocado vendors, but she's this one particular organic one, and I bring her food and she gives me avocados, and she's a great lady.
That's awesome.
And you can learn so much about what you're eating that you would never even think of. And there are so many varieties. No matter where you live, a farmer's market is bound to have something that you're not used to and that you're not familiar with. And the best way to eat better and to eat more whole foods is to be able to get excited about them. Yeah. And there's something about a farmer's market that most people, not just hippies, find intoxicating. And they're just magical places. So whenever it is warm enough near you, wherever you may be, visit one, talk to farmers, have a new relationship with produce.
I love that. So you guys, when it gets warmer and there's farmers markets, go and meet your farmers and meet your food and smell everything and connect with people. It's such a beautiful experience. And if you don't have farmers markets, go into a supermarket and try something new. So
definitely.
Yeah. So take heed. And thank you, Ariane, for being with us. You're amazing. I'm so excited to see what happens. So we want you to keep us posted and connected. So tell everyone where they can find you.
My website is arianecooks.com, ARIANE cooks, COOKS.com. And I try to keep up and post my newest and latest, but at the very least, it has links to Twitter and Instagram where I am more consistent about that because it's point and click easy.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. Thanks again, Ariane. And thank you everybody for watching. Well, till next time. Bye.
Thank you.